Hey there, this is Women on the Brink. I'm your host, Chris Jeffrey, a registered acupuncturist and wellness advisor with a passion for helping women live happier and more balanced lives. When I'm away from work, I'm usually outside in nature, either walking the seawall or I'm hiking in the mountains. And like many of you, my life has been filled with moments of hardship, some that I thought I couldn't overcome and really left me questioning my own strength. But through these challenges, I discovered resilience, courage, and a renewed sense of purpose. So I'm here to share not just my journey, but the lessons I've learned, and to remind you that no matter what obstacles come your way, there's always a path forward. And just to let you know, this podcast is not prescriptive, it's an offering. So please take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Welcome back to Women on the Brink. I'm going to begin this episode with a statement today. When women don't express their creativity, we suffer in a quiet, kind of corrosive way. We get tired, we get irritable, we get flat, and we start wondering what's wrong with us, when the real problem is that something essential has been shut down. And I don't even think most of us realize it's happening. So for years, I actually thought that creativity was something optional, like a luxury or a hobby, something you did after you handled the everyday stuff. So I handled real life. I worked, I showed up, I was competent, capable, emotionally available. But underneath all that, I felt like a dullness, a restlessness, but I didn't know why. Because nothing was really wrong, but nothing felt truly alive. And that was really, I'd say, my first red flag. So unexpressed creativity can sometimes look like, scrolling when you're not even enjoying it, drinking wine at night because your nervous system wants something like a hit of dopamine. Yep, been there. Overthinking everything. Also been there. And staying busy so you don't have to feel the ache. And it can sometimes sound like, I don't know why I'm so tired. I should be grateful. I just feel off. But we aren't necessarily off. I think we're just blocked. And I've seen this in so many women, myself included. Like the mother in her 40s with chronic headaches. Maybe she used to sing and she stopped when life got serious. Or the woman with anxiety who secretly wants to start a business but keeps telling herself it's either unrealistic or she'll be overwhelmed by it all. Or the friend who left a demanding career and fell into depression. And that's not because she missed the stress, but because she lost her sense of creating something. So their creative energy had actually nowhere to go. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. Creativity doesn't disappear when we ignore it. It actually turns inward. And, it looks like irritation. It looks like control or self-criticism. And sometimes even physical symptoms like, tense jaw, digestive issues, shallow breathing, because creativity is a life force. It's energy. And when a life force is suppressed, like anything, it pushes back. And I want to be clear. I'm not talking about becoming an artist or monetizing a passion necessarily. Although, like all of that is great too. I'm talking about expression, making meaning instead of just managing life. For women especially, creativity often gets rerouted into caretaking or organizing and supporting everyone else's dreams, doesn't it? Which is beautiful, but it's not enough. And here's the really uncomfortable part. When women reconnect with their creativity, things change. So we get clearer, we become less tolerant of what drains us, and more honest about what isn't working. Creativity actually wakes us women up, and that can be a little disruptive to some people. So sometimes we might purposely keep ourselves small, or busy, or sensible, or even safe, right? So again, this isn't about talent, although I believe every one of us has a talent or a creative gift. It's more about permission. So permission to speak, to make, to explore, and to follow what lights you up without justifying it. So we all need an outlet. And for a lot of women, creativity shows up in places we've been taught to dismiss, like, you know, how you style yourself. Maybe fashion can be a form of communication. The day you stop wearing what's expected and start wearing what feels like you again, that's creative expression. I mean, I have a daughter who loves polka dots, so that shows up a lot in her wardrobe. And it might be how you organize your home. Maybe you're bringing in more flow. My house is full of neutrals, but after last winter, I felt I needed to bring in more color because I don't know, my nervous system needs more light and more softness, more oomph. And that's creativity also working through space. And creativity shows up in how we speak. The moment we stop editing ourselves mid sentence, and the moment we tell the truth instead of the polite version, you stop sort of putting cushions around your words to keep everyone else comfortable. That's creative force reclaiming your voice. And that's why I love having Kim Protopappas on this show. She just tells it like it is, doesn't mince her words or feels she needs to edit them. And I love that. And it shows up in how we work, in our relationships, so many things. So maybe changing the way you structure your day. Maybe it's building something instead of just maintaining something. So bring out the KitchenAid and bake a cake. I borrowed my daughter's Singer sewing machine about 2 years ago, and I sewed a ribbon skirt for my sister, for my daughter, and one for myself. And I haven't sat at a sewing machine since grade 11 textiles. And I mean, there's a reason for that. I sucked at sewing, and I now know I still do. But there was a lot of satisfaction in making those skirts, I have to say. And I did get lost in the moment, and really enjoyed it, to be honest. So our bodies aren't something just to manage. They're expressive instruments. And, creativity isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just maybe a quiet pivot, maybe a little dance in the kitchen while you're cooking. That's one of my personal favorites. And if you're exhausted or resentful or numb, it might not be because you're doing too much. Maybe it's because you're doing nothing that feels like it's yours. So again, it's not about talent, it's about self-expression. And it says, I'm allowed to shape my life however I want. And that's where things really begin to loosen and the spark presents itself and your energy starts to return. So here's what I want to say, and I say it with tons of love. You don't need permission from anyone to get creative. Not your partner, not your kids or your boss, not from the younger version of you who thought being sensible was the same as being safe. Whatever's been tugging at you, that idea, that urge, that one day when things calm down dream, start messy. Maybe start small, start quietly if you need to, but start. Wear the thing, say the truth, make the change. Begin the project you don't even fully understand yet. You're not asking for too much. You're just responding to life. And let's face it, the world doesn't need more women who are polite or numb or overfunctioning. We got plenty of those. And here's what I've come to believe about why creativity matters so much to us. Because for most of history, women didn't get to author their own lives. Our choices were limited, our voices filtered, our survival often depended on adaptation instead of expression. So women became brilliant at responding, to needs and to crises and to other people's rhythms. But creativity, it's about initiating. It's about saying, this is what I see, what I feel, what I choose. Creativity gives women a place to put everything we carry, our anger, our tenderness, our intuition, and our knowing. So without creativity, that energy turns inward. It becomes anxiety, sometimes resentment, sometimes self-doubt. And, this is why Women often feel better when they're making something, even if they can't explain why. So, in closing, here's my complete, unofficial medical opinion. If a woman is allowed to create regularly, she's about 70% less likely to pick fights, overthink texts, fantasize about moving to another country, or feel personally attacked by the laundry basket. So if you want peace in your body, your relationships, and maybe even in your home, let women create because it's way cheaper than therapy.